When there's too much to take in, the brain tunes out. Today we're talking about the neuroscience of overload and why that's important when you are designing your event agendas. What to consider, what to factor in, and what to be aware of for the ability of your attendees to stay focused and engaged and absorb the information and retain it, and then hopefully, yes, take action on it when they leave. So that's what we're talking about today. And before we get into that, aloha! My name is Megan Nolan, and I help event planners to design and deliver energy smart events based on human biology to boost focus, engagement, creativity, energy, joy, all the beautiful things that we're going after all day long. So you maybe have had a car overheat or seen that happen. Well, that is essentially when we push the car to its maximum and then something's happening internally and then the steam comes out. That's what happened to us. We left our house at sea level. I live on Maui. We left our house at sea level and we drove up to a high school at 1,800 feet, which is, a significant increase in elevation, to go to see our friend's son perform in Oliver. Great musical, very fun. And by the time we got there, there was steam coming out of the hood of the car. No bueno. What happens is the car got overloaded, right? It was a radiator issue. I don't know any more than that. I know that that was it, but not a car person. So what happened is an overload. And what happens when our guests are being inundated with incredibly valuable, highly impactful information, I know that because I know that's what you're sharing at your events, is they reach that boiling point. And because the human attention span is getting significantly shorter, right? Anywhere from 6 to 8 seconds, usually before people get distracted. That means that the inundation of information that we receive at events, not to mention the high level of stimulation, right? The lights, the sounds, the being in a different place, sleeping in a different bed, probably being slightly dehydrated from airline travel. There's a lot of factors for us to consider. So as we consider designing your agenda, it's really important to think about that perspective of, is it actually supporting your guests at the core level of their biology? That's what human first means, right? Is that we are factoring in these biological needs, their bodies, their brains, their nervous system, because we have what's called cognitive overload. And that happens pretty quickly, right? If we're distracted, if we have all of this sensory experience that's happening around us. And of course, we have a divergence in our ability to focus, our ability to process information, right? We have a beautiful spectrum of humanity, which is so incredible. And of course, very important to consider as well, because we all learn differently. And so what's really important is remembering that the amount of information that your attendees can handle of course varies, but for the most part, we need time for that information to land. It's really important that we have these moments after a highly intensive educational session for everything to get integrated. And what we want to consider here is that, can we have some variety in the sessions, in that if there's a content heavy section of the agenda, can the next one be more experiential? Because not only do we need time for people to come back into that place of presence and for the information to land, right? It needs to almost kind of settle. You can imagine, when you have a juice and everything's settled to the bottom and you shake everything up, and that's what's happening in the brain, is there's all this stimulation, so much is coming in, and then everything gets to settle. But if we're still in that shaking mode and we go right into the next section, there's not time for things to be absorbed and to be what's called consolidated into memory, right? So our working memory, where we're processing this information, has a capacity to it. And that's individual, right? There is a big variance in how much we can handle at one given time. But the truth is that there is a capacity for everybody. What that is unique, but there's definitely a capacity. And so what happens is, when we are in that overloaded state, our prefrontal cortex, which is the high functioning CEO, memory creation, ideas, innovation, spark CEO of the brain, it's getting overloaded. And so it tends to go into a slower state of activity and comes offline, if you will. And then simultaneous to that is if the person is stressed at all, right? If their nervous system is dysregulated for any number of reasons, including the fact that they're sitting in the chair and they're breathing short and shallow breaths and they're not taking in as much oxygen as their brain needs, which in and of itself triggers stress significantly because sitting is actually stressful for the body. So if that's already the case, then the amygdala, which is the threat detection center of the brain, is already online and the prefrontal cortex is already less active. So we want to think about that. How can we begin to break things up so that we're not automatically creating the state of overstimulation, especially when we're considering younger demographics, right? Gen Z, for example, is known to be higher on the scale of anxiety, burnout, and overload already, right out of the gates. So already they're running hot, right? From the sense of that car analogy, already they're running hot, meaning they're already in a dysregulated state of nervous system. So already the brain activity is favoring threat detection and not as active in the prefrontal cortex because of the state of the nervous system. So what can we do? We want to have variety in the sessions that we're having. We want to have moments of pause because within the body, within every system, are cycles, right? We know the circadian rhythms when you wake up in the morning and when you get tired later on in the day. But throughout the day, we have ultradian, so that's within the overall day, is smaller cycles, usually from about 90 to 20 minutes. 90 to 120 minutes. Hello. That's an interesting range. 90 to 120 minutes. And so that's when the focus levels drop, energy levels drop, and brain activity shifts. So can we be proactive? Not wait to the 90-minute mark or 120 or 2 hours and 20 minutes and then take a break. Can we be proactive and preempt that natural dip so that we're keeping the trajectory nice and level throughout the day, but also having these moments of, ooh, this is exciting, this is fun, and then coming back down, right? Last week we talked about how to turn your agenda from a spreadsheet flatline to a symphony and having the moments of up and down. And this is what we're really speaking to, because at the core level, we're supporting the nervous systems of your attendees. We're supporting their bodies by getting up and moving, right? Which is invigorating, so invigorating. It primes the brain to pay attention because there's blood flow, there's oxygen, there's nourishment, there's oxytocin, there's dopamine. Like there's a whole beautiful chemical expression that's happening inside the body when we support at the deepest level of the system. So we want to make sure to schedule in these moments ahead of those energy leak moments, right? Ahead of that, where if we're just going back to back to back, and then the only breaks we're having, is a quick potty break and then a little more coffee, and then we're not really setting it up for it to be completely, deeply supportive. So that is the neuroscience of overload. I hope that was insightful for you, because the more we learn about the human body, which BT-dub is amazing and fascinating, the more we learn about it, the more we need to consider, is the way that we've been doing things the most supportive? Is it truly giving them this full expression of what you are hoping to achieve with the stories and the contents and the trainings and the teachings and the speakers? Or are we just doing it that way because we've always done it? And are we bypassing these core biological needs that would then support the ultimate goals of your event? Because when that beautiful attendee that you are there to support and that you've invited in, when they're being given what they need beyond snacks, food, water, toilet breaks, etc., then you are setting the stage for them to be fully expressed, for them to be in a regulated state in their nervous system. So they're connected to inspiration, they're connected to joy, they're connected to themselves, they're connected to other people in the room. That's really what we're looking for, right? We're looking for memorable moments. We're looking for impact at the deepest level. We're looking for sensory experience because we are sensory beings as humans. So consider this as we wrap up. And it's apparently not Einstein that said this, although he's often credited to this statement. So I couldn't go far back enough, although they were crediting, I believe, a leader in the Narcotics Anonymous program as saying it, but Einstein kind of took the credit. If we do things the way we've always done them, and expect different results, that's the definition of crazy. If we do things the way we've always done them and expect different results, that's the definition of crazy. So if we are running our agendas the exact same way and ignoring the very valid, highly researched, highly important understandings that we have about the brains, the bodies, and the systems of the people in the room, what are we doing? I'll leave it there. So I would love to support you in making your agendas highly impactful, avoiding these energy leaks, making it a beautiful experience, a symphonic, don't know if that's a word, but whatever, symphonic experience. I should look it up before I try to use it too much. Sorry. And so being able to help you to create a highly impactful, memorable experience for your guests. Drop the word unforgettable in the comments below, and I'll send you more information about my unforgettable event blueprint sessions to help you to create that beautiful flow and impact that your event is destined to make when you have these really important pauses in place. So have a great rest of your day. Take good care. Aloha. Bye-bye.